Welcome everybody to the Stand with Asian Americans general membership meeting. Just wanted to quickly thank you for joining us today. And if you haven't already, would love to hear where you're dialing in from. So in the chat box, let us know which city you're joining from, and then, maybe we'll make some new friends within the group as well. And while you're doing that, I just wanted to quickly just say this is Stand with Asian Americans annual general membership meeting. Today, before we begin, we have a couple of housekeeping reminders. So as mentioned, the session is being recorded for publication on our website. So please remain on mute until we reach the Q&A session at the end, where we will get off the record so that everyone can more comfortably share their thoughts and ideas and questions. And, in the meantime, feel free to drop any questions in the chat, and one of us will try and answer them as best as possible. We're highly encouraged to join us with cameras on, but totally optional. We also know that, some folks are a little under the weather, so just appreciate you joining regardless. So thank you again. Let's go to the agenda as you see on the screen. Today, we're going to provide you with a quick overview of, what SwAA is. I know some of you are longtime friends of SwAA. Really good to see some familiar faces and names, but others might be getting to know SwAA. So we'll give a brief introduction of what we are, as well as an opportunity for you to meet our awesome team members. So we'll do that. And then we'll give you some substantive updates, but really highlights of what we've been up to in the past year in 2025, and also what's in store for this year in 2026. We have some exciting updates and initiatives to share with you, so stay tuned for that. And finally, at the end, we will share how you can get more involved with SwAA. And also, as I mentioned, we'll do some open Q&A with anything that you might have in mind, because this is supposed to be a two-way street. Okay, so without further ado, let's go on to the next slide. So we will take turns briefly introducing ourselves. We thought we should make it a little bit more interesting, especially to those of you who might know us. So we're going to introduce ourselves, but also share one thing we love about SwAA, our favorite thing about SwAA. Okay, so I'll start. My name is Rachel Lee. I'm the president and general counsel of Stand with Asian Americans. So before joining SwAA, I was at a big law firm doing corporate employment work. And while I was doing that alongside some advocacy work outside, joining SwAA was really an opportunity for me to pivot full time into public interest. That's really what drove me into entering the legal field to begin with. So it just felt right, and the timing was really perfect. And since then, I've been helping spearhead SwAA with various fronts and initiatives, both internally and externally, which we'll get into in a minute. My favorite thing about SwAA is that we are relatively young, and that makes us nimble and, agile and really scrappy, right? And the ability to act and speak up effectively in light of what's happening in the world. And this is in comparison to some of the larger, longer standing organizations that you might be familiar with, especially those in the AAPI communities, right? That I'm also a part of. So, that momentum we have here at SwAA, and just being able to turn all the great ideas into actual action, like programmatic initiative services that we offer to our constituents, that has been my highlight here at Stand with Asian Americans. With that, I'll hand it over to Mike, our legal director.
Hello, I'm Michael Roberts. I'm the legal director here at SwAA. I joined the team a little over a year ago. Prior to that, I spent more than a decade with the Connecticut Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities, which is the state agency here in Connecticut where I'm based that enforces civil and human rights statutes. So my background is primarily in litigation of discrimination cases at the trial and appellate level. One thing I really appreciate about SwAA is that it has a scope that's both broad and focused. It's broad in the sense that we cover the entirety of the nation, coast to coast and beyond. And so we're able to assist where we can, wherever the Asian American community finds itself in the United States, which is every part of the country. And we get folks reaching out to us from pretty much every part of the country. But we're also at the same time focused. Right now, our focus is on employment discrimination and workplace injustice. So we are able to really hone how we're using our resources and what we're able to do in order to focus our efforts in that way.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. And I'll take it home. I'm Zach Sirboon. I joined SwAA back in November as Chief of Staff and Head of Operations. Before joining SwAA, I spent all my career, my former career with EY, first as an auditor in the financial reporting field and compliance before transitioning over to our people consulting practice, where I was leading DEI revitalization efforts for large companies throughout the country, whether it be New York or San Francisco. Um, and then once I left EY, I actually had the opportunity to work on a project that was really near and dear to my heart, which was the retirement plan for my parents who are first generation Thai immigrants. They sold the business that they had run together for 30 years, and I had the chance to be a part of that and really handhold them through the process because I think they were phenomenal operators at, the walk, but they had no idea how to do the business side. So I was really excited to be able to take my experiences in corporate to them before moving over to this work, which I think is just so important. And really, I think that leads me into what I love most about SWAL, and it's just the sense of urgency that we get to operate with. So I think Rachel mentioned how great it is that we are nimble and agile because we are relatively small and young. And Mike also mentioned the scope of our work, right? We're both focused on workplace discrimination while broad in who we work with. And I think that just brings with it the sense of urgency of like, okay, we can move quickly. And there's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. There's anytime you look up, it's like, oh, another insert large action that makes me angry or sad or whatever, right? And we get the chance to address those things head on. And I think that also leads me to the transition of also introducing our board, which is awesome because since joining, even though it's only been a short time, it's been amazing to see just how dedicated everyone is top down. And that really is a leadership directive. Obviously, we heard a little bit about Rachel already, but she's joined on our board by Justin Zhu and April Mo. Justin is one of our co-founders as SWA, and he throughout the interview process was really inspiring to me as someone who said, okay, we started SWA because we saw what was happening in 2021 with the Atlanta Spa shooting, Monterey Park, and said, no, enough. So he, with Dave Liu, Wendy Wynn, and some other of the major Asian American business leaders, wrote a letter in the Wall Street Journal that went out and got thousands of pledges and said, enough of this. And that work continues for Justin today as he continues on with his new startup and his on-the-ground advocacy work throughout San Francisco through organizations such as the Jade Society. With Justin, we also have April, who is the chief marketing officer of a tech company based in Seattle. She is a first generation immigrant from Singapore, and just brings that creative edge to going out to market. And I'll also say that what's unique about both Justin and April and Rachel is they all have direct experience with discrimination law. Both Justin and April from the perspective of having gone through that process, and obviously Rachel from the legal representation space. So not only do we bring passion and energy, we also bring experience to the field, which has been amazing to see and experience and work with. Um, and that energy, I think, is also really great because speaking of energy, that leads me to introducing the newest members of our team that we're very super excited to welcome, and that is our inaugural class of interns. So last week on Monday, we brought on our three lovely interns here who are all volunteering parts of their time. Two of our interns, Charlotte and Angie, are currently law students, and then Eugene is a earlier career professional working in financial services who all kind of saw the scope of our mission and were inspired to do the work. And they reached out, and we were more than thrilled to bring them on. I know that at least from my my perspective, working with the younger associates and staff in my former role was my favorite part of my job. It's something that's super important to me as someone who is a first generation college student, first generation white collar professional. Um, I always want to make sure that I'm lending a hand or leading a hand back down to say, I want to make the workplace better for you. Whereas I think I entered a workforce where there was a very fraternal mentality of I'm going to make you feel like experience everything I did because I had to go through it. I have always said no, I would rather let you use my experience to do it better, and to have it be more inclusive, which I think all these folks have brought a tremendous amount of energy to the work, um, and have really revitalized kind of the scope of our mission, which I think is another great segue to why we do the work that we do, right? The importance of our work. We've talked a lot about how there's a lot going on. And through 21, there was a huge surge of energy for our Asian American civil rights. And as we move to today, it's not like strides have not been made, but by the same token, there are still moments where we go, we could be further along, right? And I think one example that kind of came up for me very recently that kind of aligns with some of these stats on like victims of hate crimes and discrimination is like, again, I mentioned my parents earlier. They ran a business together for 30 years. They have a plaque in front of where the business used to be that says, like, we honor Teddy and Toon for all their amazing community impact. But we also recently moved to Texas because my spouse is um, she serves in the army and we had to move down here. And it, it was wild. I was sitting on one of our team meetings here at SwAA, and I could hear my parents in the back because that we are a multi-generational household, and they're like watching what was happening in Minnesota. They're like, we can't go outside, and I was like, and they're talking to each other about being safe out in the community. I was like, that's not right, and that is why I'm here, right? It's you have spent your careers and most of your life here building a business, trying to be an active part of the community, but as soon as you leave that place where you're felt safe you don't feel safe anymore. And I think that is wrong. And that is what inspires us to do our work. So it's not just for those that are pursuing class action lawsuits, it's also for your mom and pop places, for workplace justice as well as economic justice, right? So there's obviously a lot of strides that we have made and we celebrate them. But I think the reason that we're here, the reason that we're all here is to advocate for each other for more change, and more inclusive environments, which again, I talk quickly. So if you want me to reiterate any of this, please let me know. But that being said, I think that is a really good segue to let me hand it off to Rachel to talk a little bit more about the scope of our mission and our vision.
I think your summary was really helpful and also, heartfelt because, as Zach mentioned, a lot of us have personal experiences, and I'm not talking about just us in SWA. I understand that many of us in the audience joined the call today for a reason, probably because you saw a connection or, importance in the work that we do. So there have been many changes around us, right? Or some ongoing situations, as you saw on the screen before, that that impact our community. And through it all, there has been much uncertainty, but we are proud to say that SWA has been steadfast with our vision and mission of serving our community, right? So we envision a reality where all people across the Asian American diaspora are empowered to exercise their civil rights and constitutional liberties. And SWA is, as the nation's first civil rights organization that is focused on combating anti-Asian workplace discrimination, we do so in three very specific ways: the power of law, education, and community, with the eye of protecting and serving the rights of the Asian American population, right? So the three things that I mentioned here, power of law, education, community, you can consider them as our guiding star, right? Those are the three pillars that we operationally, strategically adhere to. So to think about what that work looks like, I will hand it over to Mike for the next slide on how we focus on those three pillars.
The three pillars that Rachel mentioned really sort of guide the way we think about the work that we do, and sort of can divide it out into three categories. One is harnessing the power of law. We do this through direct legal services, representing folks who are experiencing workplace discrimination issues and trying to assist them in resolving their situations either pre-litigation or through litigation. We also have an ever expanding network of partner attorneys all throughout the country that we can refer folks to if they are in jurisdictions that we don't have attorneys on staff to be able to practice in. We also do a tremendous amount in the realm of education. One of the best ways to be able to prevent discrimination from happening is through training folks on what their rights are, and also what their obligations are. So we do trainings not only for employees to let them know what their rights are in the workplace, in a variety of different areas, but also on employers so that they know what their obligations are, what not to do, how to ensure that their workplaces can be truly inclusive and diverse spaces. We do trainings, we do workshops, we try to appear on panels. We have a variety of resources on what folks need to know, where they can go, and what best practices are that can be implemented in the workplace today. We also do continue to do work that speaks to where we started, which was community support and community advocacy. We have, for a long time now, hosted a monthly therapist-led support group for individuals who have experienced workplace discrimination and other forms of discrimination so that they can have a safe space to convene, to really process what they've experienced, and really have a reminder that they're not alone in their experience. We also do a lot of outreach and training to inform folks about who we are, other orgs that are around that can support them, and to let them know about their rights and what resources are available to them. So, with that in mind, as a general matter, I want to talk a little bit about how we put those three pillars into practice in 2025. 2025 began by really launching our workplace justice initiative. And over the course of the last year, we have been able to assist more than 20 individuals with direct legal services. So we're talking about either direct representation in their cases and situations, or by referring them to other attorneys that we're partnered with. We've also been able to provide resources and information to be able to assist folks as best we can, and guide them through the circumstances that they're finding themselves in. We, for as I said, we provide our mental health support group, and we've assisted more than 50 folks in that effort over the course of the last year. We have ever expanded our partnership network of attorneys and law firms, nonprofit organizations who can help provide resources and advocacy and representation throughout the country. We also were able to really put in place the legal infrastructure that allows us to take our advocacy work and our representation work to the next level. On the back end, we were able to put in place a lot of the systemic work and processes to be able to take in clients and prospective clients, other individuals, and be able to keep track and be able to best focus our work across the country. And we also have a new streamlined portal by which people can reach out to us, provide us the basic information that we need in order to best serve them, and let us know what they need from us and how we can best help. We continue to do a lot of community advocacy, appearing on all kinds of panels, radio programs. We've been appearing in different places doing trainings. We've been really trying to get the word out so that folks know, and in a variety of languages as well, to be able to provide folks as best we can the information they need. And we have been trying to also mentor and educate the next generation of leaders in the AAPI community, in part by bringing on this inaugural class of interns, and also by doing a lot of outreach to colleges, law students, other schools in order to provide as best we can an opportunity for folks to learn and see themselves in the space that we are in. So, having talked a little bit about what we've been able to accomplish in 2025, now that we find ourselves already somehow in February of 2026, I'll turn it over to Zach to talk about what's coming next.
Too many screens. Thank you, Mike. As Mike said, a lot of really great stuff happened in 2025. And before I even get into 2026, I do want to take a moment to recognize and acknowledge both Michelle Lee and Brian Pang as the former PGC and head of operations here at SwAA. I don't think that we could have done any of the work that we did in 2025 without their leadership and guidance. And we'll say that they were, I mean, I'll speak for myself, instrumental in onboarding me and making this transition as seamless as possible. And it is the frameworks that they left, Rachel, Mike, and I, that are setting us up for what is going to be a really exciting 2026. With that said, right, 2026 is going to be a huge year for us. We want to continue building on the momentum that we generated in 2025 by expanding our reach. Again, as Mike mentioned, we continue to talk to new partners, new potential partners every single day when it comes to our network of legal professionals that we can refer folks to if needed. We've also already seen the benefits of some of the changes we've made infrastructurally to our legal um, litigation arm when it comes to, as you may have already seen, the streamlined reporting portal has actually helped us onboard some new cases very quickly, which is really awesome to see. And we also just continue to get out there and share our knowledge and expertise with employers, setting up Know Your Rights conversations, getting out with community and doing, canvassing and grassroots efforts. So not just working in larger training settings, but also just on the ground legwork, which is really important to us and will continue to be important to us. We'll continue to work with those employers to really, I think it's funny because with HR, sometimes you want to say, yeah, we just don't want you to tell people to sue us. I think the scope of our work expands to from just, litigation to we just want you to create better cultures. How can we help you nudge your people into more inclusive behavior so you can avoid the lawsuits, right? Like in the most ideal world, you have none of those things. So we want to help employers not to create those more inclusive workplace cultures. And then obviously we'll continue to stay apprised of all the latest trends. As we mentioned, there's the urgency of just making sure we're aware of the things happening with our community. And we want to keep on hearing from you. We want to continue having these conversations. We want to talk with you to hear more about what you are seeing, what you think your community needs, so we can try and respond in kind, which I think is a really solid segue to saying, we're really excited for 2026. And I think Rachel wants to just kind of close us out with just ways to be involved and engaged.
Thank you, Zach. So absolutely. So as Mike listed, we've done a lot last year with even with all the transitions and kind of all that's going on in the world. This year, we shared with you some ideas and initiatives we have, but also from the back ends, a lot of them are already rolled out and in full gear. So that's really exciting. And you're probably sitting there wondering, wow, this is exciting. How can I get involved, right? There are a couple different ways. So first, if you or someone you know is experiencing workplace discrimination or harassment, please let us know. We have a couple ways you can reach out to us. You have a QR code on the screen that links to the workplace discrimination reporting portal that we have recently revamped. You can also email us at legal@standwithasianamericans.com, and we will do our best to get back to you and connect you with the resources that you need. And the second way is, as mentioned earlier, we have our inaugural cohort of interns. We are open to more volunteers joining us. We are very busy. We have a lot of great opportunities. So if you want to volunteer with us or know anyone who might be interested in volunteering with us, please send them our way. All backgrounds and walks of life are welcome. Last but not least, what's enabling our work is obviously the support of our past donors. So if you are able, we invite you to also give. No amount is too small. really we can connect you with how every dollar you provide to SwAA is being put to good use. I'm proud to say that of all the nonprofits that I've worked with, like SwAA is one of those where because we are relatively young, because we are relatively small, your every dollar, right? Every contribution you can give has a more significant impact, direct impact to the work that we are doing. So I encourage everyone to scan that second QR code if you are able to give. And, maybe one day we'll become one of our, valued donors that we get to invite to our donor appreciation events as well, which is happening this year. So with that, I will give everyone else an opportunity to ask the SwAA team any questions